afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Be Good to Yourself. My name is Chef Billy Breedlove, aka Florida Boy with the Sauce. Thank you guys for joining me live in the Cafe 305 studio. So, for this pro tip that you guys always get on the Wednesday, is going to be a little different. Normally we would have something where I'm doing some kind of food preparation or something like that with an instructional video to go with it. But this coming Saturday, we're going to be busy, so you won't get a follow-up video. We're going to be at a local farmers market, doing our thing. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to my guy Gene. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We're going to start off with a little sip tonight. Okay. Just a little sip, nothing big, because we're going to kind of be doing some studying, so to speak, and I want to be on my game. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to yourself. One other thing before we get started. Got this beautiful coasters coming out real soon. This is going to be for the VIP members only. Okay, real walnut. We're going to sell them in sets of tools. Listen, guys, you got to get in on this stuff. I promise you, you won't be upset. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about what we came here to talk about. So listen, as you guys know, I'm a big barbecue guy. I like doing instructional videos, giving you guys some tips and some tips and trips and things like that. But today's going to be, like I said, it's going to be a little different. So as a barbecue guy, I have to be hands-on when it comes to choosing brisket, ribs, pork butts, all those different cuts of meat, pork bellies, things like that. Whatever chicken, whatever you're going to be using to barbecue it, or even just in your everyday use. There's a little helpful guide out there, and it's called the Meat Buyer's Guide. This is volume 8, so it is the latest edition that you can get. As you can see here, it kind of goes over a lot of different meats. It doesn't so much get into fish. That's a different kind of protein. But you see, you got beef, you got lamb, you got pork, you got poultry, you got purchaser information, you got veal. I mean, you name it. You got it here. All right, so before we get into this, a couple of things you should always have if you're going to be butchering your own meat or anything like that. A curved boning knife, nice and sharp. Very, very, very important. Always keep one of these. I have like 5 or 6 of them. Extremely sharp, but that's what you want. Even if you cut yourself, you want to cut yourself with a very sharp knife. That way the cut is nice and clean and not jagged and ripped. Also, get your hands on a set of these black gloves. They're no slip and they're powder free. Always helps when holding your knife or moving meat around. And if you can, find yourself a large chopping board. You can go down to your local restaurant supply store and you can find them relatively easy. They're like $20. They're not very expensive at all. All right, so let's get into this Meat Buyer's Guide. Now, the Meat Buyer's Guide is not the cheapest book in the world. This book is going to run you about $60, but nonetheless, it is more than worth its weight in gold. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. So let's get into it just a little bit to kind of give you a rundown. So of course, like I said, it's the Meat Buyer's Guide. A couple of good tools that they give you is like here you have for cooking temperatures, things like that, how to store meat, what temperatures you should store things at. Sometimes this stuff is self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, this is a really good way to kind of get a reference for what you're looking for and the things you're going to be going for. Okay. Also here, you can see here, you have your different grades of meat. Okay. Throughout the U.S. and Canada. So you have your grade A or like a prime, you have your choice, and you have select, things like that. Okay. For me personally, I always like either a prime, grade A, choice. If you can, choice is not bad if you're not left with any other option. But listen, you know, a lot of times that stuff is going to depend on your budget. Okay. All right. And also, it's going to depend on what you have available to you locally. Okay. So now, when it comes to beef and just about any other protein, you have what's called primals and subprimals. So, a primal would be like a whole side of beef. Okay. This gives you a good breakdown of where everything is laid out, how everything looks, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, your subprimals would be all the different cuts that you get from that side of beef. So, you know, you have your brisket, you have your New Yorks, you have your T-bones, you have your ribeyes, you have, you know, top round, bottom round, ground beef, all those sort of things that you will get from that actual primal. So, you know, if a side of beef is a primal, a sub primal would be like your ribs, would be your brisket, which comes from the upper flank or chest area. You know, we deal with brisket a lot. Of course, you have your filet mignons, which will come from the tenderloin itself, things like that. So it's just good to be aware. This is very, very good information for you to have when you walk into your local butcher. And more than anything else, being an educated consumer will save you time, and it will definitely save you money, because your butcher won't be able to kind of pull something over your head if you don't already have a good working relationship with your butcher. So I will give you this pro tip. If you can possibly avoid it, never buy meat frozen. And the reason that is, a frozen piece of meat contains frozen water, aka ice, which adds weight to that product. So if you buy a pound of something, chances are a quarter of that is nothing but water, which is wasted, because when you thaw it out and cook it, that's all going to be gone. Also, you're going to have to deal with shrinkage as well. Wink, wink. Guys, take it easy. It's a family show. Okay. So now we've talked about beef a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the other neat things that's in this book. Okay. Get back here to the front page. Okay. So also here, there's different other meat buyer's guide as well. So you got beef, you have pork, and you have chicken. If you can get your hands on them, cool. If not, a lot of this information you can find online, but when you have it in your hand, things just feel a lot different. All right, so purchase information, again, holding temperatures, cooking temperatures, things like that. We already went over that. Again, that is what a side of beef look like. So your brisket will come from this area here. We all know the ribs, the tenderloins, things like that. You know, you have your top round, your bottom round, all that kind of stuff, okay? And again, it talks about meat from different countries, things like that. Okay. Again, you know, your subprimals. So the book is really, really informative. Here it talks about marbling, the things you want to look for. Believe it or not, I think it's only 10% of beef is graded prime. And I think, you know, only Wagyu and all that stuff comes from Japan. So if somebody's trying to tell you something's Wagyu, but it's from here, I don't know about all that. Be careful with that. All right. Again, now we flip over to the lamb. Again, here it shows you the primal. And then you can get your subprimal. Okay? And again, a lot of helpful information as far as all the different cuts and things like that. We jump over to veal, your subprimals, your primal cuts there, your whole side. And again, you just get a lot of valuable information for yourself. And again, being a educated consumer makes for a better buying experience, so you know what you're really getting yourself into. Okay, again, here's pork. So of course these are subprimals. So you got like pork, pork fat or belly fat. You got your ribs. You got your loin. You got your chops. You know, your double chops, tenderloins as well, bacon. You know, I mean, just the whole nine. So it really gives you a good idea of what you're looking for, and what your pieces should look like. Okay. And again, there's such a ton of information in here. You could spend a whole weekend going through this book and you'd be surprised of all the stuff that you learn. So, you know, you have, you know, further processed meats, you know, like your bolognas and things like that. You know, burgers, sausages, sausage patties. You know, you get a good idea of where all this stuff comes from. Okay. Now again, now we have poultry. I mean, and poultry is really self-explanatory. You know, you got the legs, the breasts, the wings, things like that. Shows you what to look for. And again, certain things that should not be involved in your chicken. So, you know, like I said, it's a really, really informative book. You know, again, with the chicken, you know, to break down into quarters, so on and so forth. Okay. Duck as well. Duck liver, the feet, livers, things like that. And the other, last but not least, the great thing about this meat buyer guide is you have a full glossary. So you can go in, familiarize yourself, study, memorize these things. So when you do walk into your butcher, or if you see something that doesn't quite look right, you can refer to this guide and it can really, really help you out. So I know this video was a little long, but listen guys, this is something that is invaluable for you to have. I found this particular version on Amazon. Check your local Barnes and Nobles, things like that. They can possibly order it for you, or your butcher might actually be able to get it for you. And again, if you have a nice butcher shop in your area, establish that relationship, just like you would at your local cigar shop. For my cigar guys, and definitely for my bourbon guys, we all know we have our go-to liquor store that, you know, we get phone calls from, and we go in just to see what's new, kind of shoot the breeze. Same old, okay? So when it comes to butcher, you should kind of have that same relationship. So keep that same energy. And I think that's basically about it, guys. Sorry if the video dragged on a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday afternoon. And as always, be good to yourself. See you guys next time.